This video is going to be my reaction to the Ravens' 28-24 loss to the Patriots in Week 16 on Sunday Night Football, dropping their record to 7-8, effectively ending the season. I'm sure there will be normies out there saying there's still a path to the playoffs. If the Steelers do this, if the Ravens do that, that's all we're left with watching the 2025 version of the Ravens. If. Do you really want this season to go on? I will be honest with you, I do not. I don't see any point whatsoever in rooting for, hoping, or trying to finagle a pathway for this Ravens team to get in the playoffs. I have a couple of points I want to go over here from this game that I think kind of are representative of long-standing issues in 2025 and before that. This has been a really long and frustrating season to watch for a lot of reasons. The Patriots gave us opportunities here to get ahead of them by a bigger margin tonight. We were unable to take advantage. First, it's obvious the injury to Lamar was huge, right? That's at a point in time in the game. We're down there, I think, inside the 20 or maybe inside their 25. Less than 2 minutes left in the second quarter. We do end up tying the game at 10-10 on a field goal. It's a quarterback counter play, probably what most people refer to as bash at this point. Lamar keeps it. It's unfortunate, that there's some risk when you run those things with any player, but in particular, your quarterback, somewhat of a random thing, in my opinion. The guy's knee ended up looked like fitting between the rib protectors, maybe. There's got to be some side protection, but there's usually an opening of somewhat to allow the guy to move around a little bit. It's quarterback. He's trying to throw the football and ended up putting him out. Really tough to see. I thought Lamar started the game extremely sharp, throwing the football accurately. We were walking down the field on them on both of our first two possessions. In fact, we're moving in to make it 10-0 or maybe 14-0. And credit to the Patriots. They forced the fumble on Henry on our second drive. We're gashing them at that point. That's kind of the story of the season. In fact, the story of recent years for the Ravens. We do not have great ball security. I'm going to segue that into point number 2. I mean, Henry's got to do a better job of taking care of the football. No doubt about it. It's always the second player that you don't see who strips the football. I think it's Kirby Smart, and I've referenced this a couple of times in other videos. He did years ago, I should say, a series of ball protection or ball security drills. And a lot of the examples actually from the Patriots when they had Tom Brady. There's various drills in there. Stumble bum. I think there's one that we ended up calling the Ray Rice drill. It's just basically securing the football while you have a third point of contact on the ground, your other hand, and that most fumbles are caused by the defender you don't see. And it's consistently, repeatedly, a lack of ball security and awareness, I think, by some of our star players. Henry had the fumble early tonight. Flowers had another one. I think that's his third. Andrews, I have no idea what he's doing there late in the second quarter. If there's a design element to that, first of all, I'd be surprised. But second of all, it would have to occur earlier than it did. We're very fortunate that I think there's a penalty on the Patriots, and as such, they didn't end up recovering the football or getting it back with an opportunity to expand upon or to take a 13-10 lead. That chance that we had early to take a 2-score lead, man, that would have really put them in a bind. The fumble by Henry, he's juking. There's contact by a DB out on the edge, but that's not what caused the fumble. It's the inside-out defender consistently. We just have no apparent recognition of that in game, and you can blame each individual player, right? Flowers, Henry, Andrews wasn't a fumble, it was an actual lateral. Likely, how could I forget him, right? We need to be better globally, and that to me is on coaching. We're not prepared for the toughness, the level of toughness, the level of physicality that there is in a given game situation. I know that every practice can't be full speed. It's a long season. It's too long. In fact, 17 games sucks by design, and the way they spit out the schedule, probably AI generated, is awful too. So, but there's got to be some kind of creative way. Do we fumble more than other teams? I guess where are we? Where are we in that paradigm? Certain guys fumble more than others. It's the guys who get most touches. Just mathematically, that makes sense. The crazy thing is, Henry went on to just absolutely dominate this team. Right, 18 carries, I think 128 or 138 yards. The 2 touchdowns. The second one puts us up 24-13. It's like 13 minutes left, something maybe a little bit inside of 13 minutes. I don't have him for another carry after that on the night. In fact, I don't even think he was on the field at all. I don't. Maybe he was hurt, but we didn't get any indication, from the press or from the broadcast booth, I should say. He was the main weapon we had along with Flowers Flowers finishes with, I think, 7 catches on 9 targets for 84 yards. And he had some wins against Christian Gonzalez. Gonzalez is a really tough and talented corner. They're super blessed at the DB position outside there between Carlton Davis III, a veteran who I've got a ton of respect for. I loved watching him play last year for the Detroit Lions. He moved over to New England, and I think he got a 3-year deal there. Those two guys on the outside, man, it was fun to watch Hopkins match up against CD3. Flowers, unfortunately, found a way to ruin his amazing game. He also had the 18 or 19-yard touchdown on a reverse. That fumble in the fourth quarter, we're down 28-24. We've just given up a touchdown, a run touchdown, where they basically waltzed into the end zone. We had very poor alignment on defense. I'm going to intentionally kind of ignore the defense here. I don't want to get into it. It'll elongate this reaction video probably by a factor of 2. But we're down 28-24, really horrible opening play call there on the 1st and 10. It's a swing pass to Rasheen Ali. I just don't understand why Henry's not in the game there, unless there's been some information come out that he was hurt. In any case, Flowers on the very next snap kind of cuts up field and fumbles the football. I'll be honest with you, it was difficult for me to see that. And then a few minutes later, watch him out on the field just laughing it up with Gonzalez. I get it. These are professionals. They perform at a high level, and to some degree, it's the only time they get an opportunity to talk to some of these players who they may know personally. I get it. But for me, on-field behavior during the game, nothing else, not talking about off-field issues at all, or necessarily even the what I observed after the game, I have a problem with his maturity in-game. I'm talking about Flowers. And the awful thing is, I love the talent that he has. The fumbles, in my opinion, are something that has to be removed from his game. Otherwise, I would support moving on. Guess I will talk about the defense a little bit. We can't cover anyone the longer the game goes on. When we get shredded by Stephon Diggs, 9 catches for 10 targets, okay, fine. He's super talented. Man, if you don't know anything about Stephon Diggs before the NFL, right? He went to the University of Maryland, was a 3-star. He should have been rated well higher than that. Extremely talented in high school. Underrated, in fact, coming out of Maryland. Has had a great career so far. So it doesn't surprise me that he puts up high-level production, and he's very efficient doing so. I get it. It does surprise me a little bit that he's looked at a veteran leader for this New England team, but it's working for them so far. But other guys, Mac Hollins, Austin Hooper, we're getting beaten by those guys for big plays when the game matters. I get it, the defense had moments, right? Certain guys were up to the task. I think Dre'Mont Jones played extremely well. 1.5 sacks or maybe 1 and a couple of pressures. Travis Jones seemed to be extremely disruptive into the second half, but coverage-wise, everyone struggled at various points tonight. Marlon got beat by Kyle Williams. You just cannot give up a one-play score when you lead 24-13, and there's about 9 minutes left. It's a 1st and 10, 37 yards out. And Williams is a talented dude. I think he was a UNLV guy originally. He's actually, ironically, you may not know this, he was born in Baltimore, but then moved to the West Coast. Played at UNLV and then Washington State. The stats were really good in college. Probably fell a little further in the draft than some would have suspected. And he's had a great rookie season. Having said all that, we cannot give up a one-play score from 37 yards. If you're Marlon Humphrey, that's what I'm talking about. It's a great throw by Drake May. But this Ravens team has to have Marlon, play better when we're paying him that much. That's the bottom line for me. We cannot give up those types of plays to rookie wide receivers when we're getting paid as much as Marlon Humphrey is. Nate Wiggins didn't have the struggles consistently in coverage that Marlon did, even though Marlon had the interception early on. But Nate did have a chance to end the game. It's a slant that Drake May threw in front of Kyle Williams, and I really do think May throws the ball extremely well down the field, deep. But on intermediate stuff, he will give you chances to make a play on the ball. I think we had the pick by Marlon. Wiggins here on this play. It's a high-pressure blitz in the fourth quarter. A 3rd and 2. I think it's the drive where they go down and score to make it 28-24. So it's a high-pressure look from Zach Orr. 3rd and 2, bringing heat, and Wiggins identifies the route. It's a slant from Williams. And there's some contact, don't get me wrong. Like Nate is breaking on the ball. If there's no contact between him and the receiver, they're both trying to get to the football, right? That's going to happen. That's a part of the deal at the NFL level. And Williams is a small receiver. He's 5'11", maybe my guess is 185, 190 or so. If you can't play through the contact of Kyle Wiggins, I don't know who you can to get that pick to finish it off. I'm being a little harsh on Nate Wiggins. It's an opportunity to win the game, and we left it out on the field. Hollins is the one that really annoys me. We let him go off 7 catches for 9 targets. I've been on the field with him before from a coaching standpoint. That's all I'm going to say. He's not super talented at the NFL level as a receiver. He's essentially a glorified blocker where the Bills used to use him in 11 personnel, but he was almost acting as a second tight end. Consistently, they would motion him into the boundary against our nickel personnel, and he was matched up against our boundary side safety, Alohi Gilman. We're giving him free releases up the field, number one. Or it's a speed out that's just easy access. And he goes 7 catches on 9 targets. If you can't cover Mac Hollins into the boundary, who can you cover? And you know, guy's an NFL player. He actually got paid pretty well by the Patriots to move over there, so credit to him. He's a Maryland guy, so I'm rooting for him. Having said that, there are 50 to 70 better second or third, number 2 or number 3 receivers than Mac Hollins. They move him over into the boundary. If those guys are beating you, and Gilman got smoked by him across the field, then you're just not very good. I think we knew this defensively early, as Raven says. Early in the season, right? We're 1-5. Some of you held out hope. There was a certain point in time where people actually looked at this Patriots team and said, that's going to be a weaker part of the schedule. Well, they're 12-3 now, and they're better coached than we are. And in the end, they were the more physical team on both sides of the ball. They did get shredded by the run game. 2 extremely poor looks, fronts, by their defense against Derrick Henry runs. The first touchdown, about as terrible a defensive look as you can provide against a boundary side run. Essentially, they just handed us a touchdown. But in the end, in the fourth quarter, they played harder. They had more commitment. I think it's time for a complete overhaul. And I said that at 1-5. I think I reiterated it or maybe alluded to it after the Jets game, maybe. I don't think we're coached at the level that we need to be to win games like this one. Granted, Lamar Jackson was out, so that's going to provide a bunch of normies excuses for John Harbaugh and others. I'm not willing to provide that. We've had opportunities to finish teams. In my opinion, it's no longer time for a head coach that's A, politician, and B, not someone who's responsible for something on the offensive or the defensive side of the ball. I don't know who that is. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to name names necessarily. It's not my point. I want someone that'll hold the coaches and the players and himself accountable, not just on the field and in private, but in public too, and do so in a way that raises the standard of expectations for everyone, and we don't have that right now. I'm talking about from the Daniel Falele situation. We knew a year plus ago that guy could not perform at this level consistently, to Harbaugh making excuses for 2 years in a row, Zach Orr going out there and getting annihilated early in seasons. You may not have signed up for this, and it's fine if you want to back out of the video now. But let me do it this way. What if we get to 2026 with the same exact coaching staff, Harbaugh in charge, Monken and Orr, offense and defense, and we're 6 or 8 games in, and we're still playing like shit on defense and the worst team in the league? Would you be surprised with the same guy in charge that we have the same problems? We have just watched the same beginning of a season 2 years in a row from a defensive standpoint. I know that we were not 1-5 in 2024. For me, for my mind, this year is over. Granted, there is a path there. Whatever that is, I really don't care. You can discuss it in the comment section if you want, but I'm not going to reply to it or respond. I think we've just watched the worst Ravens season in a long, long time. 2021 was destroyed by injuries to J.K. Dobbins, right? Gus Edwards, Marcus Peters as well. That ruined his career. He was a totally different player prior to that ACL injury. And then Lamar goes down, missed the last 4 games plus, actually. He only, I think, played a quarter and a half against the Browns on the road. I'm not necessarily counting 2021, but I do think it's comparable. The difference for me is this. We have a Hall of Fame running back that we ignore when the going gets tough. And I like Keaton Mitchell. I'm sure that all of you do too. I want to see him get the ball. I want to see him get more opportunities than Rasheen Ali, who doesn't have anywhere near the level of talent. But tonight, we had to go with what was working. Henry was wrecking this team. He didn't have one touch in the final 2 possessions. Mitchell had 9 carries for 13 yards. You have to be able to recognize things in game and then get the ball to the guys that are working. It's like if a player is 8 of 10 shooting through 3 quarters in the NBA and they don't get a single shot up in the 4th quarter for whatever reason. Henry averaged 7 yards per carry. I don't know how to support or justify what we did there, whether it's Todd Monken. John Harbaugh's damned if he does and damned if he doesn't here. And here's what I mean. If he is involved with the offense to a certain extent and we didn't get the ball to Derrick Henry, it's his fault. If he's not involved with the offense, and after the first possession when Henry's not on the field, I'm talking about when the Patriots score to close to 24-21 and we get the ball back, and Mitchell's on the field for 2 plays and then I think Rasheen Ali. After that occurs, the next time we get the ball, when we're down 28-24, you know what a head coach with some guts would do? He'd get on the headset and say, put Derrick Henry in the effing game. He's our best player right now with Lamar out. I cannot justify to you or tell you what I cannot tell you something I don't think. And in my opinion, Harbaugh's done. And that moment to me there's no justification for it unless it's come out at this point that Henry was nursing some kind of injury and there was a reason for him to go out. And, if he's hurt, then I retract what I just said. I'm not willing to make excuses for this coaching staff with the level of talent that we have. The Patriots are a good football team. They're tough. They're smart. I think they're better coached than we are. This is not the same old Ravens for me right now, nor should it be the same offseason strategy. If you want to hear someone praise or talk about the Ravens culture, basically from this night that you listen to this on to week 1 next season, you should tune into a different channel. I don't think the Ravens culture exists in the same way that people talk about. Certainly not the announcers who know nothing about what goes on behind closed doors, nor watch half as much film as some of us do. Every draft is not an A+. We do not find more value than everyone else in the middle rounds or at the end. Those days are done. Right now, we're a middle-of-the-pack football program right now, and that's with a Hall of Fame running back in Derrick Henry, a Hall of Fame wide receiver in DeAndre Hopkins, and then Lamar Jackson, who admittedly did go through a ton of injuries this year, a lot of which were caused by tactical decisions from John Harbaugh in letting a shitty offensive line get rolled out there for the 2nd year in a row. If it's me, I'm advocating for Lamar to be shut down the rest of the year, to be real. I don't think there's anything to be gained at all in trying to win this division whatsoever. I know that's not what they'll do, and that's not what most of you would want to see. You always want to try to compete for a division title. Something crazy could happen to the Steelers that makes it borderline impossible for them to win football games. They were very fortunate to escape Detroit with a win today. I think it was a BS penalty called, the first offensive pass interference on the Lions. But the reality is, I don't think we're very good. This Patriots team probably beats us 6 to 7 times out of 10, and that's with Lamar on the field. That's my thought going into this game. I think the approach needs to change in the offseason, one that's got to be a drastic overhaul. If you want to support the Ravens way, a slow change, because, that is how we do things, congrats. You're signing up for a process that's going to land us in basically the same place a year from now. The only difference this season, 2025, is that it's happening during the regular season and not after another fumble/turnover-filled loss in the playoffs like 2024 in Buffalo. We're unprepared. We're not able to finish out teams like this, whether Lamar's on the field or not, and that's kind of a byproduct of why we're 7-8. You got to give credit to the Patriots, man. They're on the road. They come back from an 11-point deficit, outscore us 15-0. Drake May made some great throws down the field. It seems like intermediate stuff I would say is a little bit more dangerous. Maybe that'll be proven out some during the playoffs here, but they're in line for potential home field advantage. I haven't seen a ton of film of Drake May. That's just a cursory observation based on tonight. Ball ended up in Ravens DB's hands multiple times on intermediate throws. I guess my last thought, I don't know who the imaginary coach is for 2026. We're most likely facing another year of John Harbaugh. Not really excited about it. To listen to him, to observe the same pattern of decisions that put us in situations to lose games like this with our best player off the field, Lamar, and our second best player, at least tonight, Derrick Henry, not even touching the field in the last 12 minutes. I could be wrong. I think teams are tougher than us when it matters most. I think they're more prepared to make in-game adjustments, and to me, that falls back on the head coach. Harbaugh's consistently a guy who doesn't call plays on either side, and I don't see where he impacts the overall strategy in a positive way. Anyway, I hope that we look forward to an offseason where we can entertain the idea of getting a head coach in here with a no BS approach and the ability to win some of these close games that we consistently crumble in.